Have 275K on Instagram, and I usually charge around like 1,000.
Based on like your follower rate. I'm just curious, because I've had like a lot of people reach out in regards to that, and I'm like, hey, how much? What's a fair price for that? For like a 24-hour clickable link ad on something like that.
Hey Daniel. So I have 275K on Instagram, and I usually charge around like 1,000 to 2,000.
Gotcha. What are your daily views? What are your views?
Jojo, how many views are you getting on your story?
Getting around like 30 to 40K.
You can double that. You can easily double that.
Facts.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah,
because like we need to have this room tomorrow. This is why we're having this room tomorrow, because you guys got to actually learn what you're worth, for sure. Like double that. And Daniel, like I'm assuming you're doing more because you seem to be growing pretty heavily on that as well. So.
Yeah, I'm curious because I have about 500K, like a little over 500K on Insta, and I was thinking. I mean, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm so new. Like I don't know if you guys can tell. But I'm like, I don't know what's fair for an Instagram story, like 1,500. Like, what do you think for 500K on Instagram? Like, what's a fair, price?
I mean, to put it into perspective, real quick, if you're getting anywhere from like 20 to 30,000 story views, I'll just compare it to JoJo Sim real quick. I don't know if that's your whole name or not. I'm just saying it, but you could probably do anywhere from 2 to 6K, I would assume, or based off of like what I've done in friends.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting around. It depends on the day, but around 70K or so. So that's.
Oh my god,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So yeah, yeah, you can be making
more.
A lot of money.
Sometimes I get above 100. So that's why I was just curious. Some days it's different though, like depending on what's like trending. Like if I post like a trending reel or not. But yeah, like I said, I was just curious because I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm like underselling myself in that aspect.
I think it's interesting because your life is literally already changed, but you don't even know it yet. Like you literally have changed your entire life and you haven't even realized it yet, which is very fascinating to be witnessing live time.
Yeah, this is so epic. Like Daniel, I feel like you don't even know what's in store and the potential that is right in front of you.
I'm pumped to be in this room tomorrow.
Obviously, these moderators get commission, so.
Hey Daniel, I'm really curious about your Instagram real fast, because it looks like you're posting the same video as a Reels video, but you're also posting it as like a normal regular video on your main feed. Am I seeing that correctly?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I was thinking about that today. I'm like, are people getting annoyed that follow me? Because I know that people will see that follow you obviously as a reel, but I've had like a lot of success on Reels. Like, let me take a look at my Reels right here. Essentially, I hate how Reels will like snip it up into like 30-second. I think it's like 30 seconds max or so. But like every reel I post, at least in the last little bit, eventually after like a week or two, ends up around like some of them are like at like 5 or 6 mil. But like some of them around like 1, everything's between around like 1 or 3. I think that's like been the key to my Instagram growth. And I'll literally just take my TikToks, slice them up into like 2 separate 30-second videos. And additionally, I'll post that on Instagram as well. But I've found like Reels to be how I've grown so much on Instagram, because it really gets beyond my audience that already follows me way more than just what like a normal Instagram post would do. So I've been doing that. It's worked out so far. I've also kind of in the back of my head been like, hey, are people getting sick of this? But I don't know. I mean, I've found that to work, just as like a word of advice. Like Reels, I kind of hopped on it like right when it started catching fire, because I've just heard from people that that's kind of the way to go.
I just recently tried to do that, and mine, same thing, blew up to like 2.5 mil. I gained like 50,000 followers on Instagram with one video, so I'm definitely going to keep doing it.
What I would say, Daniel, is actually like when you post your Reels as well, if you want to get more out of them, is actually leave them, share them to your grid, because then like that's just more favored, because then you actually get it shown to your actual audience as well. So all your fault, like it'll go to your normal audience. This has been like split tested a lot, and like just if you just say post to grid as well, I mean, if you wanted to, you can end up removing it later and just leave the reel in the reel section. But you'll get better video performance if you post it to your timeline, and that way you probably don't have to do the other straight video post as well, which is just never going to perform as well as the reel.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because I guess if I started doing that and posting it to my grid, because I've completely avoided that so far, then I could just post the 2 reels, or like I normally do 2. I normally split it into like 2 30-second increments. But that's a good idea actually, as far as like instead of just doing 1, doing 2 separate and actually putting it on my main page. Because yeah, I haven't really thought about that, but yeah, that's super good idea. Start doing that, I think.
People aren't gonna like. Do people, when you cut it up, do people know that like it's a part 1, part 2, and are you using that to drive traffic to your page? Because you could be like, find part 2 of this video on my page, and then people are gonna have to come. They'll like click through to your page to see that. As in one strategy, which I've just come up with as I'm talking to you, because that's how my brain works. Or is it like fairly like? Can you obviously separate the 2 as 2 separate 30-second videos or whatever you're saying?
I can pretty easily separate them. I think that's something I should probably introduce though. Like what you just said is like part 2's like, and just immediately post it and be like, it's the next reel. Like, since they're all separate interactions with people, I can super easily like just cut them up into 2 separate intervals, and people like wouldn't know any better. They just think it's a separate video, because there's no like chronological order to the videos. It's just usually about 3 to 4 interactions with people. So I'll normally do like 2 in one, 2 in the other, and that's just kind of like how it goes. But I think that's a good idea that I'll probably start doing, is like, hey, part 1, and then in part 2, like immediately post it, because I hate those part 1, part 2 videos. But it's not like that in any way. Like you said, yeah, it's just kind of easily split up.
I mean, like you don't have to do it. It might be just something worth testing, but like I wouldn't necessarily just roll that out as your main strategy, like straight off the bat. I would just test it and see whether that's something that actually drives more traffic to your page. Otherwise, yeah, I guess keep doing what you're doing and just make sure it goes to grid, and you'll probably get even more views.
Real quick, Alex, invite Lauren up to the stage. She definitely could provide a lot of value.
You said Lauren?
Lore DIY.
Oh, okay.
At the bottom.